Morning, everyone. Excuse the state of me, but I've just got up, well, about half an hour ago. It's 6:30 here. I was just about to start doing some training, and something's been whirring around in my head, and I thought I just want to record it whilst it's there to explain it to you. Because I heard something the other day, someone talking about motivation, and they were sort of saying about people have been asking them about how do they stay motivated, how do they get so much done, and they explained this process. And I didn't agree. I didn't agree with it, and I just wanted to get. Wanted to explain my point of view on it, and also get your thoughts on it because I'm not here to throw stones at other people because I get there's other ways. I don't. I get that my way isn't the way for everyone, but I just think it's important first of all that you see this. Let's share this way because this way may work for you, but also what I want to share is what I think is the pitfalls with it and what can happen in the long term. So what they're basically saying was the way they get stuff done is this. Once they realize this, that you have thought, then you have action, and then you have reward. Sure you see that? Yes, it looks like my a 7-year-old's written it, but there we go. And what they were saying was you have the thought of doing something, and then you do it. Say like you think you're going out for you think about going out for a walk or doing some exercise, but then you do that exercise, but then you reward yourself for doing that exercise, as in with something else. So you might, um, I think the example they used was they have a thought, they have a thought, they go for a walk, they don't really want to do the walk, and they'd never do that walk if it's just doing the walk, but then they put a reward that they're going to walk somewhere and have a glass of Coke. So then their brain goes, oh yeah, and I want to do it. So they're always rewarding themselves for doing something. Now, for me, what the pitfall is this reward can become a problem because we then want more of that. So when we want to do stuff, when we want to get stuff done and, reports and all this stuff that our brain goes, I just don't want to do, we then need to do more of this. And often those rewards become unhealthy things. Things like if we're drinking lots of Coke or drinking lots of coffee or rewarding ourselves with some sugary stuff or whatever it is, or even buying stuff, then the first pitfall I sort of see is that actually this can either cost us a lot of money or it can actually, make us not that healthy. It has basically can have a negative effect. And the other thing that happens, which I'm going to explain to you in more detail in a moment, is our, when we put a reward at the end of something, so the reward, the actual doing itself isn't the reward. It's like the reward is at the end. Our brain is anticipating that, and it actually makes the task harder. So let me explain this in a bit easier way. And there's a great podcast by Andrew Huberman which explains this. And I'll see if I'll put a little note to put a link up for this. But basically, imagine you're here and then you're thinking about going out for this walk. And you're thinking, oh, I don't want to do that. And then you don't do it, but you think, tell you what, if I do that, I'm going to reward myself with some sort of, I don't know, sugary drink or beer or something. Then what happens is the brain predicts that and it goes, oh, I want that. And then it motivates you to go and do this. But the problem is, once the brain gets this, it gets a release of dopamine. And then it goes, oh, and these things are what we call false pleasures, and they release lots of dopamine. And our reward pathway goes mad. And what it does, it wants this more than it wants this. So it actually stops the dopamine being released whilst we're doing the activity, which over time can make the activity harder. And then what dopamine does, because I'll give you a quick lesson on dopamine. Everyone thinks it's the pleasure molecule, and we do get it when we get a reward, but it's when that reward is better than we expected. So the first time you do this, you're going to finish a walk, have a drink, oh, and you're going to feel great. But When that reward becomes normal, so like you've had it once, then you have it again, your brain is actually expecting that now. It knows what it's going to get. But when it gets it, it's like, oh, well, that wasn't as good as the first time. And but what it's doing is it's chasing that hit of the first time. So then it goes, well, maybe like suddenly basically one doesn't become enough. So then you need two, then you might need three, and then you might need something else. You need something bigger because what you're actually doing is we think this is what the brain wants, the reward. But all that's happening is when we have something, when we have, especially like a false pleasure, but when we do something, and our brain identifies it as something that's important for what it thinks for survival, it releases dopamine. But what we're doing is we're getting this release of dopamine here, and what we need is more of this. And I personally find this not very helpful. It's good in the short term, maybe, but in the long term, it will actually make this activity, whatever it is, harder. Whether this is a walk, a run, work. Once you reward, the brain is now focused on this. Whereas if you flip it the other way and you go, actually, I'm going to remove this, and then this is how I teach people to do it. So you got this activity and they're not doing it. Rather than putting a reward at the end, you're better off breaking it down really small and making it a habit and harnessing that dopamine and learn to manage your brain. Now, your brain is designed to seek pleasure, or think about this a bit small, avoid pain, and conserve energy. Okay, that's what your brain does. And it's thinking all about survival. So obviously, when you go, I want that, I'm going to get that reward, that's the pleasure. But when you're just thinking about the activity, what your brain is doing is going, oh, it's anticipating what your brain does. Let me just take that off. Your brain is predicting ahead at what that's going to be like. And when it's predicting this activity, it's probably going, oh, that's going to be hard. It's going to exert a lot of effort. We're going to have to exert a lot of effort. And this bed is really warm. And the problem is now we've got lots of comforts, whereas in our caveman days, our brain would make this prediction and go, actually, we're going to go out and go hunting because otherwise we'd die. So we'd move. But now we've got comfy beds and we can scroll on our phones and we've got all this stuff. So our brain is going, this activity, it's predicting this activity is going to be really hard and effortful. But what we want to do is notice that prediction, realize the discomfort that we're feeling. So, this discomfort we're feeling before comes from the brain, comes from the brain's prediction, not the activity. So, the discomfort you're feeling, that resistance is coming from the brain. And then you learn to have a conversation with that brain and you harness it. What you do is you then, rather than focus on the activity, you look at the outcome. What's it going to be like when you finish this? When you've done this, what's it going to feel like? So like now, I do not want to go out on my bar. I do not want to go out exercising. I never really want to do it in the mornings, very rarely. But I sit there and I imagine what it's going to be like having done it. And I see the benefits of having consistently done it over a time. And suddenly I can feel like a good feeling coming up. So I'm creating this internally now, not relying on something external. And also, the other thing is you just accept your brain doesn't want to do the thing. And it's like you treat it like a child. You go, I get it. You don't want to do it. I get you don't want to do it, but we're going to do it. And you break it down and you create that habit. And if you think of this like a child, if you've got a child and you want the child to do something, so you've got to do your homework and you've got to feed it sweets to do its homework, suddenly you've got to give it more sweets. And then one day, if you haven't got sweets, it's going to kick off. That's what you're doing with your brain when you're putting the reward at the end. But when you make the when you predict that outcome of having done it, and also make doing the hard thing, so doing the hard thing is the reward. So you actually consciously think, oh, I don't want to do this, but this is an opportunity to build this new version of me who does hard things. And then you notice that that discomfort before is part of doing it. And you know that this is temporary. Once you get your ass off the chair and you start doing the work, then suddenly the motivation comes. And this way, what happens is dopamine is released throughout the activity. And then this is longer lasting. And then you're not relying on rewarding yourself with things that in the long run will kill the dopamine during this activity and also will have a negative effect. Let me know your thoughts, so what you think. And if you want to know more about this, if you're struggling to get yourself moving, if you're struggling with bad habits, over drinking, all this stuff, maybe it's vaping, then just message me, come and see me. This is what we do. And I'll show you how to get rid of all that shit in your life that's causing you the harm, how to build motivation that drives you in a healthy, sustained, fulfillable way.